Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Salon Marketing Live. I'm Stephanie Mitchell from Sunny Star Marketing, and I am so excited because today we have a very special guest, Ashley Gregory. Thank you so much for being here, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. I'm so excited to talk to you and to talk to all of your fans and followers. This is going to be really fun.
I know, I'm so excited. Okay, so just for kind of a little bit of introduction to yourself, Ashley, as I was promoting this Facebook Live, I told everyone you're an educator, you are a nail artist yourself, you've worked with some really big names and big brands, you coach beauty businesses, and you've just got so much going on. There's so much to share, and I can't wait to talk to you today. We're going to be talking about how to build your business and your personal brand in the beauty industry like you've done. We're going to talk about how you've built your personal network, kind of how you've gotten your name out there, and so much good stuff. But first, just to start off, I would love if you can kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about maybe personally about you, but then also where you're at with your career right now and what your career looks like.
Definitely. Well, thanks for that really great intro. I feel like there's no pressure. I really have to kind of live up to the hype. But my name is Ashley Gregory. I live in Chicago. I am originally from central Wisconsin. I have been in this industry for just over 6 years. So it's been just a short amount of time, but I've packed as much into those 6 years as I possibly could.
Tell me about it.
So I work as a session manicurist. That's my bread and butter. That's how I stay grounded in the beauty industry, by actually still doing services. But I work one-on-one with beauty pros around the world. I love coaching their businesses. I love helping them realize their potential or think about things a little bit differently. And I also run a brand called The Nailscape, which is a blog / clearinghouse / think tank, and it's also a subscription box. So lots of irons in the fire, but I love every part of it. So I just can't imagine doing anything else.
Oh my gosh. So you just started 6 years ago in the industry. What were you doing before that? Were you taking school, like university, or were you working in a different kind of career?
Yeah. So I went to school for French, which at the time seemed really smart, but if you don't want to teach French, it's not the most useful language if you don't live in Quebec. So
yeah.
I found that it made me a much more worldly person, and then I threw a little bit of international studies in there too. But then after that, I decided I wanted to go into beauty, but through the retail route. So I ended up being spending some time at the department store with the big red star down here in the U.S. and worked as an operations manager and a sales manager there. And so through those 4 hard years with that company, I learned how to sell, how to teach people how to sell, how to manage people just in general, especially people that aren't like me. Different ages, different races, different backgrounds. And so it really helped me kind of hone my skills into the next transition. Now, retail is tough. There's so many stories I could tell you about just craziness in the fitting rooms and late nights and holiday time. But it really helped me focus into what I wanted. And so while I was doing that job, I started doing nails on myself. And through that kind of decompression of coming home and spending 5 hours on my nails and doing more and more complicated nail art, people started telling me, you should do this for your job. And I didn't know enough about the industry. I didn't know about the opportunities that were available to us. And I was very snobby about it. I thought, I went to college. Why would I do nails? Stupid me, I didn't know enough about it looking from the outside in. Right. And once I started researching it, I thought, wow, this is something that could fulfill me creatively. It's something I love to do, so I would never really be working. And the amount of money you can make in this business is unbelievable. Plus, I don't have a manager breathing down my neck. I get to make all of my own decisions, what's not to love. And so I found another job where I could go to nail school part-time, and the rest is history, I guess.
Oh my gosh. So I guess you first started out working for somebody else, and then how did you kind of make the transition towards working for yourself?
I have to be completely honest. I worked in a salon for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. So it didn't take very long.
No, I realized very quickly, like, okay, I have to be the one making the decisions only because they weren't compensating us legally. There's a whole, fun conversation about being an independent contractor versus straight commission versus hourly. Mm-hmm. Not to get into all of that and peel that whole potato, but it wasn't good. And so I realized if I'm making 40% of a $20 service and nothing else, this won't be a livelihood, and I will, basically be out of this industry within 6 months.
Right.
And so I started booth renting immediately. No clientele, fresh out of school, just got my license, and I was like, okay, I know my work is good enough to get people talking, mm-hmm. so that's what I'm going to do.
Oh my gosh. So you just started out, it was essentially the first time you working for yourself. You had mm-hmm. essentially been in the nail industry officially for only a few weeks. So what was that first year or two like for you? How did you first start building up your clientele?
Lots of word of mouth, lots of referrals, but it was scary. And that's kind of what ignited my passion for what I do now, because I don't want anyone else to feel the way I felt, right. Which was I have to make rent every week or month. I have to make this worthwhile. And so, you start off learning, reading all the girl boss memes and knowing you got to hustle. Mm-hmm. But then you end up working way harder than you need to. And so it's about figuring out what's going to work, what doesn't work, and then tailoring your approach to, what your client wants to see. And through, I think, probably the first 3 years in the industry, I started understanding and narrowing my focus. And so I thought when I started, I had to do everything. I had to do manicures, pedicures, gel enhancements. I had to do customer service, retail. Mm-hmm. You do have to wear all of those hats, but you end up doing things poorly. And you focus on things that aren't your specialty, and then you end up paying for product, paying with your time for things that just aren't converting for you. And so I'm really big on having a plan. Yeah. And that's my whole cornerstone of my coaching is, what is your plan?
What kind of goal do you have? Instead of letting your career kind of drive you and it takes you where you want, you have to think about where you want to be within the next few years.
100%, because a lot of our career, especially in the beginning, happens to us, as opposed to us working a plan and knowing, okay, I know where I want to be in a year, in 5 years. And I think that's where I really succeeded, was I knew going into nail school, I want to do celebrities. I want to do cover shoots. I want to be, in the room where it happens. And so I think everyone in nail school hated me because I was like, we're living our dreams.
You were the A+ student.
I was that girl.
Hand up in the back.
To a T, capital G, that girl. And because I finally knew, this is the foundation upon which I'm going to build the rest of my life. And so I want to soak up everything, but I also want to be smart about it. And what do I need to do to get to, not just from A to B, but from A to Z? What are the twists and turns I can anticipate now? Yeah. And what skills do I need to build to be able to get there? And so I feel like there's this innate confidence with people in our industry who have a plan. And they are on their way. Nothing's going to stop them. They might get distracted, but you know who those people are when you see them. You can see it in their eyes. They are going somewhere. And whatever they need to collect or do along the way to get there, is really just details. Yeah. And so it's really fun to meet people like that. And I think you are one of those people too. It's just, you're very driven and you're willing to work harder than anyone else, but you know where you're going. And how you get there is just the periphery. It's the details along the way.
Yeah, I understand that so much. And I think that I was missing a plan. At the beginning of my career, I didn't have goals. I was just well, here's the general direction I want to go, and then whatever happens, happens. And then, last year I found myself in a situation where I was just kind of I had Sunny Store Marketing was a marketing agency. Now I've turned it more into education. I just found out that I just love helping people and teaching them more than doing things for them. And I had created this business where more or less it was the general direction I wanted to go, but I found out that I had kind of created a monster, but like created this thing that wasn't really satisfying me. And I think it really is because I didn't set specific goals for exactly where I wanted to end up and exactly how I saw my life going. So I totally relate to that. So I wanted to ask you, what in those early years, like in the first 2-3 years that you were talking about, so you had a vision, you said you wanted to work with celebrities, you wanted to work with the big names, you wanted to be published on the cover of magazines. Spoiler alert, you ended up doing all that. But I'm kind of curious, like, how did having that vision change how you conducted your business in those first few years?
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, it was just building off of what came before. And so I'm a big believer in opportunity meeting preparation. And so I was never the person who worked at the video store in high school. I was, watching my parents own their own business from the time I was 5, through 2011, and understanding that every decision we make has a ripple effect. And so it can send you down different paths, including, who we associate with, the companies that we support. And so what I love about being part of the Nailscape is that I'm completely independent. Mm-hmm. I can say whatever I want on my blog. And there might be some ramifications, but there aren't any bridges to burn because I have a bridge with everyone. And so I feel like in the beginning, I wanted to do things like mobile events. I wanted to have like manicure bars. I wanted to open a salon of my own. And those goals all fell away as I started to understand, like, okay, this is the path I'm on. These are the things that I've decided to pursue, and here's what's important to me now. Yeah. So the plan, I feel like, can always evolve, but the core of it really stays the same, which is, I want to pursue these 3 things, and everything else is a distraction. So as those things start to fall away and you start to get like laser focused on what you want to do, it makes the decisions a lot easier, I feel. Yeah. Because in the beginning, we are just inundated with decisions. There's so many things. We say yes to so many things. Like at the beginning, we all just take every opportunity that comes our way because you never know what could come of it, right? Especially working for free. I feel like that's something that you have to be very considerate about, but intentional about too. I absolutely still work for free. I do test shoots all the time. I'll, do a nail service for someone who I think is well connected or is a friend or whatever, because I know that that's maintaining a relationship or that's something that's going to reap rewards for me down the line. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not a huge proponent of discounts. And if you've ever taken one of my in-person classes, I can go off about discounting our services, but I think there's also something to be said for being strategic, especially in the beginning. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about what were some of your big, like, first breaks that you got? So I know now you're so established, like you've worked with so many different celebrities and brands and that kind of thing, but what were the first few kind of collaborations or people that you worked with where you're like, I feel so lucky and so blessed that I had this opportunity? I have so many, but it was, I think about this a lot because I have a hard time personally celebrating those successes. Mm-hmm. And so when I kind of had to put together a highlight reel of here are the things I've accomplished in those 6 years, I really had to think about it because when things are happening like working with Paul McCartney or creating a set of nails for Rae Jepsen that she wore on Saturday Night Live, that kind of stuff, when it's happening, it's so surreal because I never imagined any of that stuff happening. But at the same time, I always imagined that stuff happening. And so once it happened, it becomes like okay, check on to the next instead of really going like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this just happened. Yeah. And having that sense of like accomplishment because I want to stay hungry, which is, I think, the entrepreneur's curse, but here we are. But it really came down to a 3-week period in April and May of 2013. And this is such a crazy story, and I know that it doesn't happen this way for everyone, which is why I am so grateful for it. But I got my license in April of 2013. I passed the state boards, and I was like, yes, I can do anything. I have this piece of paper. And while that was going on, the beauty show was here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I entered the Stars photo competition thinking there was a student category for nails. Well, there wasn't. So I had done all of the work. It was the first set of liquid and powder enhancements I ever put on another person. We went to my old department store where I worked. We put my model's hands into the Michael Kors handbag wall because it was like a light box. And I was just throwing purses at her, like, pose with this, pose with this. I wasn't even paying attention to what they were doing. And then I realized they didn't have a student category. And so
my gosh.
Fetal position, crying. My then boyfriend, now fiance, was like, just call them on Monday. Maybe they'll let you enter. And I did. And they said, if you think you can beat a professional as a student, you can enter. So I entered it, and I ended up winning it.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
The title of it is International Nail Technician of the Year, which is very heady when you're starting out. It's
you had just been a certified nail tech for how many months? For how many weeks?
Honestly, I hadn't even taken my state boards yet, so it was like a matter of a week from winning that. So being at the show, I knew, okay, I'm armed with this this great opening line. And so I walked up to a bunch of different booths, and that was the day I met Jan Arnold for the first time. I went to the CND booth, and I was awkward as you know what, but I just walked up and said, hey, I won this thing. Does anybody care? And they were like, oh, sure, we'll get Jan. Hold on. And I'm like, wait, what? Jan Arnold? And then I went to the Nails Magazine booth, and I introduced myself, and I just said, hi, my name is Ashley. I won this competition, and I just want to meet everybody here and say thanks for your magazine or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so awkward. They said, oh, hold on. We're going to call the editor. She's walking the show floor. We want her to meet you because we didn't get your information from the show. And so that opened up a whole opportunity with Nails Magazine, and it just reinforced to me, like, put yourself out there, ask for opportunities, even if you feel so weird and gross doing it, because you never know what will happen. And so a week later, I get a call from Nails Magazine saying, we really liked your winning image. We're going to put it on the cover of our magazine.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So two big things within just a few days.
Huge. So that's really how it all started. And then the week after that, I walked into Ford Models and said, I'm a manicurist. I would love to assist your manicurists at your agency. And they said, well, we have a shortage right now. Come in and meet with us. And they signed me to their artist agency, and then I had an agent. So it just was like, bam, bam, bam. I can't even, it was just validation in that moment of like, this is what you should be doing, and you've made the right choices.
Wow. So do you think that you being able to sign with Ford Model Agency, did it help that you had won those awards, or do you think that those awards just gave you the confidence to be able to go in?
I think a little bit of both, because when you go into an artist agency and you ask to be signed with them, you need to have a portfolio of work. So I had a portfolio of one image. It was an award-winning image, but it was one thing. And so a lot of it is based on personality, and I knew I had the skill from those 5-hour sessions at my dining room table every night to do anything anybody asked me to when it came to nails. Mm-hmm. And so it was a lot of just priming myself for the next opportunity so that when it came up, I could say yes, and I could say yes confidently. Yeah. Because, we're always feeling that imposter syndrome of like, oh, I don't belong here. Mm-hmm. This isn't for me, and they're going to find out. And it's just like pushing that voice down and knowing, no, you have the skills. You've put in the time. You've paid your dues. So it's time now to really, grasp these opportunities and make the most of them.
Oh my gosh, wow. So then I'm guessing what happened is that once you signed with that agency, you were able to work with kind of more well-known models and that kind of thing. And then you were able to build your portfolio that way.
Exactly. And I know that threshold of getting an agent, and that's something a lot of people ask me about. There is no defined path for that. Everybody's journey is different. I can just tell you about mine and give you some tips and tricks along the way. But it's really about just being prepared and putting yourself out there and asking people if they can help you with, building a portfolio, doing test shoots, taking classes, shadowing someone. There's a lot of that, exchange of time for perspective, or your time, not necessarily for money, but for skill building.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And then, so you started out in 2013, all of this kind of happened around that time. Were you already starting to use social media like Instagram to build up your name, or was that kind of not such a priority for you at the time?
I think at the time I was more focused on Facebook because I thought Facebook pages and things like that were going to be my bread and butter. And a lot of the chatter about what I was doing and the things that were getting shared and liked were on Facebook. And I had a Facebook page from very early on in my nail career. And then that transitioned into Instagram because, as we know, it's a really good visual medium and it's so great for the beauty industry. But I didn't know how to use it in a way that really gave me any kind of return on my investment. And so, as Facebook kind of got replaced by Instagram, it was trial by fire. Like, I just had to figure it out. And interacting with brands on Instagram, I think, is one of its biggest strong suits. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I tagged brands. I interacted with their posts. I sent them messages because I knew that the work I had behind it was good enough to be noticed. And so if I used their product, I would tag them. And that just started a lot of just getting on their radar, asking about their Fashion Week teams. And then when I was at shows, going to the booth, introducing myself, having a cool business card, all of the things that, you learn in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or whatever book you're reading, that old school way of shaking hands, putting a business card in their hand, and having them connect, like, oh, that's that girl from Instagram who keeps tagging us.
Yeah, it's totally different when you meet someone in person that you know from social media.
100%. Where you're like, and everybody's like, you're so much taller than I thought you would be. Yeah, sorry.
So you started out, you realized how important Instagram was, and then you started, like you said, tagging brands and that kind of thing. Can you tell us some stories or examples of kind of some collaborations that came specifically out of all those amazing things that you were doing on Instagram that then translated into like in-person interactions and then eventually partnerships?
Sure. When I started the Nailscape in 2015, it started as a blog. And I wanted to really showcase what the nail artists were doing backstage at Fashion Week, because I thought, okay, we all know hair and makeup artists, we all know their work, but these nail techs and these nail artists are hustling back there, sweating, getting kicked, wearing headlamps.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, it's.
I guess it's really dark, so you have to kind of like have your own light source that you control.
Yes, and if you wear a headlamp, the press will be on you because they're like, they want to get a picture of you, looking like you're mining for nails. I worked on so many great teams with so many great lead manicurists my first season at Fashion Week, which was February 2015. And I thought more people need to know about this because especially for career opportunities, when you go to nail school or when you go to beauty school, you're told you're going to be behind the chair. And that's not your only option. There are so many things you can do with this skill set that we have. And so I started the Nailscape and wanted to just show off what they were doing backstage. I think I was way more into it than other people, so the blog eventually evolved into more of a clearinghouse of, there's so many great DIYers out there who swatch and do cute nail art, and then the information we get from the brands is very biased because, of course, they want us to buy their product. So I wanted to be right in the middle.
Yeah.
Between, cool things to look at, but still for the pro. And so the Nailscape, being on Instagram, it was really kind of crystallized through Fashion Week. We were doing something at Fashion Week no one else was doing, and we were shooting street style nails. So when people walk up to the venue and you're like, oh my God, that's a Real Housewife, all the paparazzi's taking their picture and we're yelling, we want to see your nails, and taking pictures of their nails, and they were like, what?
Okay.
So different, yeah. And especially a lot of the influencers who had their nails done by a brand for the season, they were really excited to show them off, and that just set us apart. It was, I keep saying us. I have a team that I work with, but it's really me. Like, I'm the one driving what we're doing when. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, we're going to go to New York, we're going to take these pictures, and it's going to be this huge thing. And it just blew up. And so it got noticed by CND, and I worked with some great brands like Morgan Taylor, and it ended up becoming these great collaborations of, okay, now you're on our PR list, and now you're going to get every collection we make every quarter, and the exchange for that is you put it on your blog and you mention it on Instagram, and hey, if I can have it first and show it to a nail tech and review it, I'm happy.
Yeah, and that's a win-win.
Exactly. And it just becomes this thing of like, you get more and more established the more you do it, mm-hmm. and the consistency is key there. If I know there's so many of us that have blogs that are we start them and then we leave them and they stay, and 2 years later it's like, oh, I should write a blog post. And so I really felt like the consistency of posting multiple times a week really helped me kind of up my game that way.
Yeah, for sure.
And getting on Instagram and just being a place where I feel like nail techs thought they could be heard, mm-hmm. and they would see something that maybe they haven't seen before.
That is so cool. Yeah, I've been on your website. I absolutely love it. You guys did you're doing such a great job. So I know that probably everyone is dying to hear about your experience working with, for example, Paul McCartney. How did that happen?
That is a crazy story that I don't even think we have enough time for. It was the job I was doing while I was in nail school. One of the other administrative assistants there, her boyfriend worked at a t-shirt company, and the t-shirt company was giving people free haircuts as a perk of the job. The hairstylist giving those free haircuts needed, because of the concert promoter, she needed to find a nail tech who was professional and discreet, so I'm not going to get into too many details. And he knew of me through my coworker. He gave her my name. She was like, she's perfect. She called me that night and ended up giving me over to Live Nation, who was like, okay, cool, come on in. You're going to just, and I just do one nail for him. So I worked with one nail for playing the guitar. So I've worked with his tour 6 or 7 different times, and when we have cocktails, I can share you a couple of my stories, but he is genuinely the nicest man, and every time I have to kind of turn myself, off and squash my realizations down, because when I'm working with him and, doing my thing, I just do my thing and I get out of there so he can have the rest of his time to prepare or whatever.
Yeah.
And inside I'm going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is happening, oh my God.
But you're just kind of keeping your head down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm professional, this is fine, I want to be asked back, so I just keep it, as brief as possible, and then I run out.
Oh, that is so cool. And then you also have worked with Rae Jepsen. Call Me Maybe, everybody knows her. And how did that happen? Was it kind of something similar where it was your personal network who recommended somebody who recommended somebody else? The
same person is currently on tour with Rae Jepsen right now as her hair and makeup artist. Mm-hmm. And so her name is Aga. She is amazing. She's based here in Chicago too. And through her, I have gotten so many great opportunities. But I've created some nails that had little silver maple leaves on them.
She's Canadian.
Rae was given an award for the Canadian Walk of Fame, and so I've never actually personally met Carly. I have just made nails for her, and then I send them with Aga. She goes and applies them, and Aga is a licensed cosmetologist as well, so she knows her way around a nail.
Yeah.
But we did some custom Pretty in Pink nails for her Saturday Night Live appearance, and they had Ducky on them and Molly Ringwald, and it was just really, really cool. So just those like fun highlights, they make the harder times so much worth it. Like so much.
And that must be so rewarding that you can you said you never met Carly Rae, but you see the photos, you see the videos. That must just be like a pinch me, like I created that and now it's on national TV for everybody to see.
Exactly. And she's so cool. And I just love everything she does. To be, 0.01% of that is all I need. And it's really, really fun. And it makes those days where you're like, oh, what am I going to post? Who even cares? Why am I doing this? You can just think back and go, okay, you know what? Highlight reel. It's time to focus.
Yeah.
We got to do this.
Oh my gosh. So I'm sure that there are a lot of people watching who they have that kind of same goal for themselves. They would love to work with big brands. They'd love to work with celebrities. They would love to have a career path like yours. Do you have any suggestions or advice for people who would like to be able to work with big brand names like that? I mean, other than just the time that it might take to build up your name, what can people do now to start working towards that as a goal?
Absolutely. Find the brand or the person that you want to work with and study them. When I looked at, wanting to create content for CND, I studied their aesthetic. I looked at what they require of their nail techs and on their design team, which is crazy, especially the stuff they're doing for Fashion Week. And so you have to bring what you do to the table, but also understand that these brands are looking for something very specific. And the answer is in what they post on social media, what they post in their campaigns, what their photos look like, what their brand voice is. You can really dial into that sort of thing, especially when you're comparing brands with each other.
Yeah.
There's Artistic Nail Design, which is much more like rocker, chic. And then you have CND, which is more classic. And Morgan Taylor, which is just kind of that like pretty, girly, but also high performance brand. And so even with hair brands, you can look at who's doing what and what they value. And you can kind of mold yourself into that. I really recommend making some very definitive brand choices for yourself personally. My brand is this jacket. I wear this jacket all day long, every day.
It's a black leather jacket. Am I seeing it right?
Jacket from my headshot. But, the Nailscape is black and white because it is all about honesty and facts. And then we have a little bit of red that's kind of an accent color. Ashley Gregory Coaching is Serenity and Rose Quartz. It's very trendy. But look at the brands that are going to be the best match for how you brand yourself.
Right.
And it's a much more seamless transition when you don't have to completely change everything about you and your work in order to fit in. Because then that just feels gross.
Yeah.
And you can kind of lose yourself a little bit in that. And so I think when you're making those decisions about who you want to partner with, make sure too, if it's a brand that you're going to throw your hat behind, it's a brand that's going to be around in 2 or 3 years, or it's something that isn't going to make offensive comments, or it's a brand that uses the correct form of your and their. So, whatever you hitch your wagon to, it becomes mutually beneficial as well, instead of you just are throwing content into the void and hoping something sticks.
Yeah, I love that, because you really, no matter what you're talking about in business, you can't be everyone to you can't be everything to everyone. You have to first decide really who you are, your personality, and also what your goals are, what your style is, what your kind of like personal brand is, and then you have to find who are those people, who are those companies, the businesses, the brands that kind of jive with that. And then it almost becomes like a seamless way to approach them of like, okay,
well, it would almost make sense, or it wouldn't make sense not to work with you. If it's something that would be so seamless and it would make so much sense that you make that saying yes easy for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the secret. There's no defined path towards that, but I think making it easy for them to say yes is the least you can do.
Yeah. Totally. I love that. So we have a question. Kathy says, can you give any advice to suppliers to get the word out? She's in Ontario, and she's used Facebook, Instagram, and is there anything else that you would recommend? So Kathy has like a nail supply business. And hi, Kathy. Thank you for being here. So do you have any advice for her about kind of how to get her name out there, how to kind of expand with creating a network of nail businesses, nail salons who purchase from her?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I feel like a lot of what we've learned about social media in the past 18 months no longer really applies. It's all about the engagement on that platform and going out there and finding people who are likely to be your client, whether you are doing hair, massage, aesthetics, lashes, whatever, or if you are a supplier and you want to find more customers. It's all about engaging on those platforms and being that person, because when we post on Instagram or we post on Facebook, what are we hoping happens? We're hoping someone likes it, right? And we're hoping that someone reacts to it positively. And if that means a follow, if that means a booking, whatever we're looking for, again, it comes down to your goal. And so using a platform like Instagram to go out and actually find the people who are likely to purchase from you, whether using hashtags, location tags, whatever it is, and engaging with them where they are, which is on their posts, and leaving a genuine comment and complimenting their work and maintaining that relationship over time, they will take notice of you. And so everybody talks about the algorithm and how scary it is and how much they hate it and how much they wish chronological posts were coming back. It's not going to happen. We have to let go of that dream. And so getting out of our comfort zone and out of the boundaries that Instagram creates for us by leaving us in our timeline or on our profile, it can feel uncomfortable to get outside of that and really get into the explore page and start looking through those hashtags. But that's really where the money is, and that's where we have to go. So planning our posts ahead of time so you can actually take that extra time, which, what is that? No one has extra time. But replacing Candy Crush on your phone with, engagement time on Instagram and going out there and finding people and genuinely connecting with them.
Yeah, I think that is great advice. I feel like so many of us use Instagram for either like creating content, posting it, and then get back to my personal Instagram time, meaning like, let's see what my friends are up to. We don't really think that much usually about how we can then interact with people that creates that value for our business instead of just personal life.
So I apologize. A thunderstorm just started here in Chicago, so that's not my stomach. I'm not very hungry. That is thunder.
Oh my gosh, don't worry.
But yeah, we put content out there, and then we wonder, why hasn't anyone discovered our unique brand of genius? And it's like, well, because we're all out there putting content out there, trying to stand apart. And so I teach this in my class called Forget the Following at beauty shows, but essentially it's not about followers, it's about appointments. And if we're throwing content out there and just feeding this beast, it can get really depressing, and it can also get really, it can make you more likely to burn out in all aspects of your business. And so if you just forget about that number and use Instagram as like a walkie-talkie and a direct line to your client, you can't do anything but win. Yeah,
I agree. And another thing that I think, would be great for Kathy or, anyone out there who wants to build up their personal brand is not just using Instagram and Facebook to curate visual content, but also educational content as well.
Oh my gosh.
So when you want to be seen as, the place, if in the Ottawa area or in the greater Ottawa area, if you want to be seen as the place to come in, it's not just about your pricing. It's not just about what brands you have, etc. It's about you being the expert. It's about I can go in, I can ask her any questions. Nothing I throw at her is too difficult. And I know that because I follow her on Instagram. I'm in her Facebook group. I watch her videos, and every single thing that she posts, I learn something new every single time. So why wouldn't I go there?
Yeah, exactly. And it's about serving your audience. And I know you and I as educators hear that all the time. But I would love for my hairstylist to tell me, okay, take out your phone, take a video, and I'm going to show you how to style your hair, because every hairstylist has heard, oh, I wish you could come every morning and do this for me. Yeah. Okay, now I live in your phone, and now I'm going to show you specifically how to use the products I've sold you, how to use the tools I've sold you to have this every day. And so technology is such a great way to continue that relationship when they're not in your chair, they're not at your table, but you still maintain, your front of mind. You're their person, and you are in charge of them beautifying their bodies, which is really powerful.
Yeah, I love that. That is such a good idea. In fact, I would love that if someone made a video showing, I can never get my hair like waves just right like they do at the salon, so I would love that.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So Caitlin says, I'm busy in the salon, but this is so cool. I've used Stephanie's business to build my logo and branding, and just had taken a few of Ashley's classes at a hair show. Thank you for being here. That's Caitlin Garland. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Pamela says, what about mobile manicuring to corporations? We post to Facebook and Instagram. So Pamela is a mobile manicurist, and she's talking about corporations. So I guess that means coming into businesses. So do you have any advice for her about kind of what she can do to start building her business?
Sure. Well, hey, Pamela. Pamela is a Nailscape Box subscriber, so thank you for jumping on and spending some time with us. I love that.
Yeah, awesome.
Mobile manicuring to corporations it's tough because, first of all, you have to make sure you're not operating outside of the scope of your license. And so in a lot of states, that's a gray area. So I would make sure you find out for sure in black and white that you can do that. And then secondly, it's all about features and benefits. So what is the benefit to the company to bring you in? And it's improved morale, employee loyalty. It's a great way as an incentive for performance to bring you in and have you do services for the employees there. So I think a lot of companies are looking for ways to engage their employees, just as we are looking for ways to engage new clients. And it's a great way. I used to work for a company called Manicube here in Chicago, and I met so many great people that I'm still friends with, actually, by coming to their office and doing express manicures for them. So your audience isn't necessarily the client, at your table. Your audience on social media are the people who would be bringing you in.
The business owners.
Exactly. So you have to tailor your content and your approach specifically to that, just because you have to tweak it a little bit. You're looking at a different ideal client for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Pamela. Okay. I hope I'm saying this right. Mumi. Sorry, I know I'm totally getting that wrong. She's from South Africa. Hi, thank you for being here. I will tell you, more competition this side is really tough. I've been using Instagram for a couple of months now to advertise my salon, and to be honest with you, it's been difficult. Believe you me, I will take your advice and will definitely make use of them. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see it, Ashley. You are providing so many amazing, golden nuggets of information about so many different topics today. I love it. Kathy says, great advice. Thank you. And Pamela says, hi. So thank you for being here. So what, Ashley, kind of at the beginning, we were talking about, in the first few years of your business, one of the biggest things that made a difference for you was just saying yes to things that were risky. So you entered this competition as a student, which didn't even have a student category. And, thinking I probably won't even win this. I'm putting myself out on a limb. And you ended up winning it. You went to is it called a modeling agency or Ford Models?
Yeah, an artist agency.
Yeah, artist agency. So you went to an artist agency and you just went there and said, hey, do you need a manicurist? And then they just happened to have this empty space. So I would say, just learning about you and your career path, a huge part of your success has been doing things even when you're afraid of doing them and even when you're not sure whether they're going to work out.
Definitely.
Would you care to give us a few more ideas or piece of advice for people who are in the beauty industry? Maybe they're just at the start of their career and they know that like the biggest thing standing in their way is themselves.
Ooh, that is such a good question. Oh man. That I think is like the secret. It's the secret sauce that everybody's trying to find. And I think it comes down to a couple things. But the first thing is we are never more confident and potentially delusional than we are in the beginning of our careers. And so I think a lot of what I did in the first few weeks of my career, looking back on it, it's a little bit cringy only because I was like, hey, it's me. And I think, a lot of people probably rolled their eyes at me or, deleted my email or whatever. But I was so new and I didn't see the whole of the industry the way I do now. So it didn't affect me, because I was flying high, I'd won this thing and I was like, I can do no wrong. But you can come crashing down to earth pretty quickly with that. And so I think just watching the state of the industry now, especially with new stylists coming out of school, everybody thinks that they are Jen Atkin from moment one. And I think that it should come with a healthy dose too of just humility and understanding that you're not going to know everything in the beginning. And you do have to, and I hate to use this phrase, pay your dues. Now, that doesn't mean work for free. That doesn't mean apprentice for 6 years and get paid minimum wage. What I'm saying is know and understand and admit that you don't know everything there is to know about your chosen profession. And you're going to learn the first time that someone's hair turns to spaghetti in your chair that, okay, I don't know everything. And so the constant pursuit of knowledge, the constant pursuit of skill building, and understanding that with every passing day you are trying to be better at what you do, that really makes the people in our industry who are successful versus the ones who feel like they have this license to create and they never need to learn another thing again. Beauty school, just like going to law school, does not prepare you to become a lawyer. It teaches you the theories behind things, but it doesn't tell you what to do at a pretrial conference. It doesn't tell you what to do when you have a contested divorce. And, I worked as a legal assistant in college.
Oh, okay. But, you know a lot of those terms.
Teach you that. When the associate attorney is going to me as the assistant, like, what do I do at this court hearing? I'm like, I don't know if you don't know. Beauty school doesn't teach you how to run a business. And so I think the practitioners and the pros out there who are the most successful and who are armed for the biggest success over their career are the ones who treat their business like a business. They keep track of their financials. They know how much they're making, not just at tax time. And they're also the ones who understand that if you're going to do this for a lifetime, you really need to take it seriously. And it can be really fun going out with the girls from the salon on a Saturday night and rolling in Sunday morning hungover. But it's all about, for most of us, we don't get performance reviews. We're not, giving ourselves raises. And I'm kind of going around the block here to go next door, but it's really about having a plan and taking whatever steps you can to get to that next level. There's a very loud truck outside.
No worries.
And so, yes, I feel like taking risks at the beginning of your career is such a good thing to do, only because, you're right at that baseline. You're just starting out. And so if it doesn't work out, hit the reset button and head back and figure it out and try something new. Life is way too short to get locked into something you're unhappy with or to do something. My goals have evolved and changed over the 6 years, and I'm so excited to see where the next 6 go. And so, I've started a subscription box. I've done a lot of fun celebrity nails, but the thing that I get most excited about is doing stuff like this and getting to talk to people who feel the same way. And I don't know, this is just such a great industry, and I wish more people knew about it.
Oh my gosh, yes. so much. I mean, I came into the beauty industry only a couple of years ago, and I have learned so much, like trial by fire, about the beauty industry in these few years. And I also think that what you said before is so true about, like, when you're at the beginning of your career, you can take those risks just because you don't know any better. And actually, that's sometimes your secret weapon, because if you are, like, fresh, totally green, and really don't know all the things that the vets know, that actually, in a lot of cases, gives you an advantage, because you're going to try things that everybody else will be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't actually work. You know, those naysayers that they're like, no, I've tried that, I've tried this, nothing works. And you're just like, well, I don't know whether it works or not. Just try it. And like, for me, that's probably been like the number one thing that has gotten me to where I am, is just like not being afraid to try things, like not being afraid to just be like, well, I'm not sure whether it works before I'm just figuring it out.
Well, and that's how you learn. And I think those are the things, I think the vets have a ton of really valuable information, especially on the business side of things, and recognizing when you're being taken advantage of, or recognizing that you're being misclassified as an employee versus contractor versus whatever. There's a lot of that information that's black and white because it's the law. But there's a lot of things too that, you know, maybe you don't want to specialize in cut or color, and you want to work at a full service salon where you get to do everything. Don't compromise what you believe in. I've talked to so many nail techs who are like, I had to go on my own because every place I tried to work had terrible sanitation, and I wasn't willing to compromise that. And so I think in the beginning, you can take a stand and you can take those risks. And even partway through your career, make a U-turn, take a left turn, go crazy. If there's something that you're doing that you're no longer passionate about, forget it and try something new, because we have this ability to be creative, and that means we can be creative with our path too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. So you are also a business coach for beauty businesses, Ashley. With the clients that you have been working with and just your exposure to the beauty industry, what do you think sets apart the salon owners or business owners that you see them and you're like, this person is going to make it, like this person's going to be big? What sets them apart from maybe some other people that you're like, they've still got a lot of work to do? Like, what are the common things that you see in these people that even if they're just at the start, you know that they're going places?
I think it's honestly just the love of the game. There's salon owners that came into this business because they thought this is a great way to make money. This is a recession-proof industry. And so I'm going to open a salon and figure it out because I have a marketing degree, and how hard can it be, versus the people who like eat, sleep, and breathe this. And I'm not saying you have to be so passionate and completely engulfed in beauty in order to be successful. I just think the people who are in it to win it are the ones who are so tenacious and so willing to do whatever it takes, within reason, of course, to make their businesses successful. And whether that means taking webinars, learning new skills, trying new things with marketing or with services they offer or whatever, those are the people that are going to go far, only because they understand and acknowledge that they don't know everything, and that there's a wealth of information out there for them. And so whether it's finding someone's differing perspective by hiring them as a business coach, or being in a group like yours and understanding that through community we all succeed because we keep each other from making these big mistakes, and understanding like, oh, I've been there before and here's how this usually goes.
Yeah.
I think it's just the people who make themselves an island and look down on our industry because we are physically touching people and beautifying their bodies and not understanding the power that has. And so, I mean, there's no secret sauce, there's no treasure map, there's no roadmap to making this work. But I have found the people who are willing to do what it takes are the ones who are going to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And then I would also add from my own experience, just from being an entrepreneur for the past, pretty much almost since I graduated university. I would say the people that stick with things for longer when it gets really hard, and they're, here's the thing, you do have to be passionate about what you do, but you also have to be willing to push through the hard times, even when you're not feeling super like jacked up about what you're doing, and you just stick with it and you keep doing it, because things just take time. And I feel like that is like a huge part of success too, is just like you said, having the tenacity to keep on going.
That's such a great point. Yeah, because there are going to be days when the dryer lint catches on fire and you have to close, or your water heater explodes, or, you've got someone who doesn't tip, or whatever it is. There are going to be those times where you feel like, what is this even for? And it's getting through those times and remembering why, your big why at the end of the day, and why we do this, and why we do this sometimes thankless job. But for a lot of us, it's everything. And so, I think that's such a great point. The ones who are willing to kind of get through the mud and do that slog and be like, okay, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try a different way of marketing myself, or a different tactic, or whatever. Because that's what makes the good times good. And that's what makes this business so exciting, are the ups and downs. And it's like, hey, no 2 days are the same, right? So
yeah, exactly. Okay, Ashley, just one more question for you, because I didn't want to take too much time, and we're coming up to an hour.
Okay.
From your perspective, so you have the nailscape, so you kind of get a good overview of what's happening in the nail industry right now. You've worked with the brands. You are a manicurist, so you're in the trenches with all of your different and plus you're also a beauty business coach, so you're also helping beauty business owners. So from all of these different perspectives, you're probably a pretty qualified person to tell us, where do you think the beauty industry is going within the next few years? What do you think is going to change compared to how it is today?
Well, what I'd like to see is the defense of licensing here in the U.S. I think that deregulation is a very real threat and possibility, especially since each state can decide that for itself. I think it can go in one of two directions. Either the deregulation dominoes start to fall, and those of us who are, done the certification, qualification, or licensure are going to be the real thought leaders in that space. Or I would personally like to see some of those barriers to entry go away. And so I personally think nail school should cost $99, and I think you should be able to do it online. So I really think the biggest thing, we're starting to even see it in the past year, has just been online classes. I think online education is the great equalizer, because you don't have to travel to go to see a class. Understanding that there are limitations within our industry of actually getting your hands in some hair, or getting your hands, on someone's feet, or whatever it might be. But I really feel like the way things are moving, everything's going to be done through distance learning, through online. And I think it's just a matter of being very discerning about who is qualified to teach you and who is there to, make a quick buck. And so, I really see the nail industry especially moving in the direction of online schools. And then the hair industry and the rest of the cosmetology industry as a whole, I think is already there.
Right.
And so deregulation, I think, is our biggest threat, only because I personally feel very strongly about maintaining the credentials that we have. If you remove licensing, I think it solves the problem of being able to staff your nail department. But it also means our prices are going to plummet. And so my license protects how much I can charge.
Right.
Because if Karen is doing nails at her kitchen table and charging $15 full sets, that puts our entire industry in danger, as well as the public and the public's health. So hopefully that isn't doom and gloom. I think we do have a fight ahead of us. But the cool thing that's coming out of this whole social media business is the fact that we can all learn from each other just by, sitting at our desks or looking at our phones.
Yeah, so true. And I mean, with online education, and I feel like there are going to be so many more beauty entrepreneurs like within the next few years. I'm sure you've seen that trend too of like
Yes.
more people opening up like their own like solo practice or that kind of thing. And I see it like even around my city, Ottawa, which is like not advanced, not like some of those American cities like in California, but I have seen so many more like salon suites opening up and that kind of thing. And that's why social media is so cool, because you don't even need to have like a storefront on street level. People can find out about you different ways.
Absolutely. And through that, a bigger opportunity for learning about building business skills and learning how to market yourself. And we wear so many hats that there's definitely going to be places where we each have deficiencies as beauty pros. And so what's really cool is that online learning kind of couples with that skill building mentality, and it's out there. And I think I'm very excited to be a part of it. I know you are as well.
I am too. Well, Ashley, I think that will be it for today. It's 3:00. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but this has been so much fun.
Let's talk for another hour.
Yeah, let's do it. Marathon. So this has been honestly so much fun. I love getting your perspective. I love hearing about the amazing things that you've done in your career and just getting your wisdom from all the different types of experiences that you have. And I'm sure that everyone has appreciated it so much too.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. This is super fun, and I am excited to connect with your audience as well. I'm a part of your group now, so I'm happy to answer any questions and, defer over to you and your amazing expertise. So thank you for the opportunity, and I've had such a blast. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. So for anyone watching, if they want to learn more about the Nailscape, if they want to get in touch with you as a business coach, how can they contact you?
Sure. So my website, of course, is thenailscape.com for all things nails. And then the coaching is ashleythecoach.com, ASHLEY. I wanted to keep it real simple. And, of course, Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me because, I'm there anyway. And I'm at the Nailscape and at Ashley the Coach.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. All right, guys, we'll say goodbye for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your Tuesday.